another episode of FutureX. Today, we have Srilal Nampoothiri, the General Manager of Fintech Practice, joining us to share his insights on the significance of loan origination in the Fintech industry.
Loan origination process basically encompasses the various stages, right from loan application has been submitted till the time the disbursement of the loan happens, right? So a traditional life cycle starts from the borrower submitting an online application. Then data and document verification happens. Risk assessment has been done. Credit checks are being done. Once that is done, then the loan structuring and product pricing has been done. Once that is completed, then documentation and compliance checks are being done, and then once this process is completed, then the loan funds are dispersed based on the loan approval. Traditionally, it used to take weeks for the entire life cycle, but now fintech companies have kind of automated that to a great extent, and now loan origination as a process can be completed within 2 to 3 days. So there are many challenges that exist in the loan origination space, and fintech companies have kind of addressed a few of those challenges. I'll name a few of the challenges that currently these fintech companies are focusing more on. One is definitely providing good customer experience, right, and personalized experience in such a way that the interaction with the customer is more seamless. The other area is definitely fraud detection and prevention, because many fraud patterns have been evolved over the period of time and it's constantly changing. So how these companies can bring about automation in those areas so that fraud prevention can be done in a better way. Risk assessment is another area, one of the critical areas where checking whether the creditworthiness of the borrower or whether he'll be able to make all the payments on time, default checks to be done to ensure that the borrower will not make any default while making his EMI payments and installments and as such. There's also a lot of focus being put into product pricing. That is another key area where there are challenges in bringing about personalized product to the market, right? And then there are regulatory requirements, constant changes that are happening in that space due to the regulatory requirements. So how applications can be upgraded to make sure that these constant changes that are happening from the regulatory board or even from the market for that matter, how to keep up with those changes that are currently there in the space. So there's a lot of focus that's been put on bringing in more technology, automation, and AI, data analytics to be brought in this space. Definitely, there's a lot of automation that is happening in the data entry phase itself. Right now, instead of doing manual data entry, there's a lot of focus being put into how data can be extracted from the document itself and be presented to the user. There is also AI being introduced to make sure that certain fraud detection can be done at a very early stage so that preventive measures can be taken or companies can actually highlight some of the risks that are involved in the loan application. For making sure that products are more personalized, right? There's a lot of advanced analytics that has been used. Data is currently being used for making sure that right product pricing and right product packaging is currently being done for the borrowers. There's also seamless integrations that is happening because there's a lot of third-party dependencies, especially when it comes to credit checks or checking for the borrower's credit worthiness and as such, right? So a lot of those integrations are seamless. There's a lot of historical data that has been used so as to make sure that those patterns can be used while assessing the loan application or the quality of the loan application. And along with that, there's also a lot of advancements being done on the UI front. So one of the key areas that I was talking about is the user experience, right? How intuitive it can be, wherein the user or the customers can interact, and rather than customer waiting for certain information, how real-time monitoring and alert mechanisms can be brought into place, by which the systems or the organization can reach out to the end customer and provide regular updates. So there's a lot of focus being put on in each of these areas, and technology is currently being used to address fraud prevention, to have better customer experience, to have more inclusive and customer-centric solutions being brought out. There's a lot of innovation definitely been brought in by the fintech companies, right? There's trends specifically towards augmented underwriting, right? Risk assessment is one of the key or critical parts in the entire loan origination process. How underwriters can be provided with all the relevant information so that they can take decisions based on that. So there's a lot of changes that are happening in that space, a lot of automation that's happening in that space. Checks in such a way that underwriters can at one go see all the red flags or all the risks that can either be waived off or can be, you can take corrective measures towards it. So augmented underwriting is definitely one of the areas that we see a lot of focus of the fintech companies trying to address challenges in that area. The second area is definitely fincrime and fraud detection and prevention. Like I said, historical data is currently being used, patterns are being identified, fraudulent patterns are being identified, parameters based on which you can identify how frauds could be conducted. Because there are patterns that are keep on changing, right? So while doing that, how data can be used, or how data can help in prevent these fraudulent activities. Also, there's a lot of focus on using data also to kind of help identify if there is a possibility of defaulting to be done, right? Based on certain occupation, based on certain regions. So there are multiple patterns, right? So I identify what patterns are there, what key data fields you should focus on that would help you to identify whether there is a possibility that this particular borrower could default in making the payments. So fincrime and fraud detection prevention is another trend that we see. There's a lot of changes that are happening in digitizing this process. So many companies, they use code solution or they have legacy applications which are to be maintained. But the constant changes that are happening in the market and constant changes that have been requested by the regulatory authorities, maintenance of these become a challenge. So how do you kind of bring about that digitization at the same time not impact the business as usual, right? So there's a lot of trends that's happening in bringing in new products in the product line, and at the same time how maintenance of the existing is being done so that the business overall doesn't get impacted. Predictive analytics and risk modeling is kind of looked at to make sure that there is more accurate credit checks that are being done. So these are few of the trends. Definitely there are more emerging trends that you can see in the loan origination space. But if I were to kind of focus on major areas where changes are happening, so these are few of them. So future of loan origination in the fintech industry would definitely be categorized by having more increased automation, advanced analytics being brought in, artificial intelligence being brought in at various stages for processing of loan application and even for the entire life cycle of loan origination. And here at Experion, we do have these capabilities that would help provide support in the domain, B, provide technology support, and we have a specialized team in the data analytics space who have kind of worked in the loan origination space. We have capabilities in the AI sector to bring in right automation, to bring in right capabilities that are required for bringing in those technology to help reduce the overall time period that is required for loan origination process. And we have a UI team that would help you with bringing more personalized user experience that could be brought for the customers to experience. And along with that, a strong testing team that would help with continuous testing as we progress with the platform and development of the platform and as such. So we bring in a lot of years of experience in working in this space that can be definitely leveraged by the fintech industries, by the companies who are currently in the loan origination space. Thank you.